69 pounder from home fen got out of the net before you could have photos of it. I mean,
to the canal, the river, any of the lakes there, and I saw 2 rods poking out like that. I knew who that was.
Yeah.
Now there's probably 2,500 carp anglers in that.
I put out, I think it was 16 or 17 kilos of bait.
Jeez.
So quite a lot of bait.
This temperature, these weather conditions, blah, blah, blah. It's so changeable.
He was like, oh yeah, I just chucked it under a tree at 250 yards.
Coupled with some like cream liquid, the cloud it was giving off was insane. It was ridiculous.
If you can get on them before anyone else, that will significantly improve your results.
Walking up to another person and they're going to get punched and kicked in the face, and they're going to punch and kick somebody else in the face. I find myself forward sitting. Maybe I should.
Forward. Because you're ready to talk now. It's like, right, there's a bit of a headspace.
I'm having it. Yes, folks. So today I am joined by Harry and Scott, and we've got lots to get into on this podcast. There's some mega, and I mean mega competitions. So keep posted, keep tuned in for that, because we are giving away, what we're giving away, H? Something pretty amazing, to be fair.
Yeah. So I, earlier on this year, accidentally ordered 2 sets of the same rod. I think I'd placed an order when they were out of stock, and then I'd forgotten that I'd placed that order.
Where's my rods?
And then I placed another one, and 2 sets of rods came out. So they're X4S 3¼ pound test curve 12-foot rods. Mega. Really, really nice rods. Full Japanese shrink wrap handles. Lovely rods. I've been using one of the 2 sets all year. Caught some very lovely carp on them. And yeah, so the extra set we're going to be giving away. So I think you've got a competition lined up at the end of the podcast. So yeah, everyone keep listening to find out how you can win them.
Yeah, mega
so you're
set
going to give
rods.
away some of my profit margin.
Basically.
Yes.
So Gary, if you're watching this, he's the big cheese. If I don't quite hit my budget for profit margins because Harry ordered too many rods and he's giving them away for free. Yeah.
So yeah, guys, stay tuned for the question that you could win a set of free rods. Absolutely mega. Absolutely mega. But there's loads to get into. We've all been fishing. Well, I've been fishing. Harry's been fishing.
Before we say that, it is worth mentioning, because this podcast and the last podcast, Chili hasn't been here. People potentially be concerned. There's nothing to worry about. Chili's actually out fishing and filming for us right now, which is the reason that he isn't here. So,
what, the little guy sitting with the moustache here last time was not Chili?
No, it wasn't. No.
Moustached warrior.
No, it was as if Chili had become Benjamin Button and turned into Otto Reed. Yeah. I think Otto's got a little way to go with the tash growing before he gets into Chili's league.
He'll get there. I got to say, I watched the third filming out this week, and again, it was just they've been received really well. A lot of people have been saying how they just want to load the car and go on a big adventure. So I think he's lit the fuse for quite a few people out there. Yeah,
I think for someone that age, doing what he's doing, like a solo trip at 21 for 5 weeks and filming it all at the same time, which is no mean feat, fishing and filming. You can't do either of them, or you feel like you can't do either of them to the best of your ability.
When someone's filming you, never mind when you do it yourself.
Yeah, so to be able to do that, capture it all, and catch the fish is pretty impressive. So yeah, if you haven't watched those films, please do. Start with the first one, which is In Search of Tranquility, then there's Tranquility, and then there's Oceans of the Moon.
Definitely worth a watch, 100%.
Talking social media, before we go on, we talked about the Cuda Slayer a couple of podcasts ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When he caught where was that one from?
He had the Mohican.
That was it.
40 odd kilo.
And then since then, he's caught an 80 pounder from Slovenia and a 78 pounder, I think, from Romania.
I know he had the 80. He backed it up again with another 70.
Then he had a 35 or 30 kilo common.
Wow.
Well.
So he's had 80 pounders from five different countries.
That's insane.
And unfortunately, when he put that up, he got, for some reason, just people gave him some abuse about it. And I'm just like...
Yeah, and he had a little go back.
Yeah, he did, in fairness to him.
On them. I think the thing is he's taking it to heart when you'll get a few people, a small minority, commenting, saying, oh, well, you fish all the time, blah, blah, which he really doesn't fish all the time. He gets 5 or 6 weeks a year, which is what his fishing is. So, yeah, he's quite an emotional guy.
Yeah.
We should really repost the video of when his 69-pounder from Home Fen got out of the net before he could have photos of it. I mean, whilst it's very emotional and he is crying, it's also quite funny. He's come all the way over to the. I mean, we've sort of told this story before, but I don't think we told the story about it actually getting out of the net. He came all the way over to the UK, first time he'd fished in the UK, to try and catch a 30+ kilo fish from the UK, where there isn't a lot. Like, just doing that, going, oh, I've got a week to go and catch a 30 kilo in the UK. Like, okay, good luck.
People have been doing that for more than lifetimes.
Yeah. So anyway, he came over. His first bite on the first day. I mean, there's more to this story as well. So he came over. He got. Did he get all the way to the lake, or did he get to Calais? And
no, he got to Calais, I think.
Did he get to Calais and he had forgotten his passport?
Something like that.
He got to Calais and he didn't have his passport because he's used to driving around Europe.
Yeah.
Of course,
where you don't need one. But he got to Calais and he needed his passport. So this is all the way from Slovenia. So he's driven all the way back to Slovenia.
Oh my days!
Did he go all the way, or did he meet somebody so far?
He might have met someone sort of part of the way, but
his
still
trailer and then left it somewhere. And then
yeah.
Either way.
Anyway, he got to, so they all did the draw without him. They'd been fishing for 24 hours by the time he got there, so he'd missed a day of fishing. But they drew for him, and I think he ended up in a favourable area. And he started fishing, and within 3 or 4 hours, he's had his first bite, and it was one of the it's Home Fen. There's a lot of really big fish in there.
Yeah.
But I think it was the second or third biggest fish in the lake, which had been caught a few weeks before at 68, 69 pounds, and he's caught a lot of big fish. He knows it's a big fish, and his girlfriend is there with him, and so it's a big fish. He's just landed it. He wants help with the photos and the weighing and everything to make sure that he's doing it all properly, and that there's people on hand to make sure these fish don't get damaged. So he's left his girlfriend in the water with the net, and he's walked to matey in the swim next door to go and to get him to come over. So he's gathered his stuff, come over. They've got back, and she's just gone, no. It's gone.
No.
And who knows what she was doing, but she has let the fish swim out of the net. He's unhooked it and everything in the net.
Oh, my God. No.
He's let the fish swim out of the net.
£69 catch and release in the UK.
Yeah. He's come all this way. He has a bee in his bonnet about catching these 30 kilo massive fish from all over the world. To do it from, I'd say, one of the hardest countries in Europe to do that from is the UK. And he's done it within hours of getting there. And I know he sent you a video or a voice message, and he's in tears. He's done like a little video trying to tell people what's happened on, and he's posted it on Facebook, and he's in absolute got just tears streaming down his face. You feel so bad for the guy.
You do, but how he's pissing himself off.
Well, yeah. It was it's funny.
But it's only funny now.
Yeah, it's funny.
It wasn't
funny
at
now.
the time.
So,
Christoph, it wasn't funny at the time, mate.
He'll be laughing now as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but just I mean, I think, was it the first time that he'd taken his girlfriend on a fish? It might have been the first time. I might be making that up. That might be embellishing the story more.
I think when he went back, though, in his car, they were like, oh, Mr. Koolman, there was 2 people came out. Why is there only 1 returned? She decided to stay, mate.
Yeah, in the bottom of home fen. That's not true. He did not kill his girlfriend, to our knowledge.
Wow. Yeah.
And then the fish actually ended up getting caught later that week, at the end of the week, by someone else on the lake, 39 3/4, like just under 70 pounds.
Wow. Oh my days. Christ, it's a story, isn't it?
But yeah, you know, a good story does follow him around, but he catches so many big fish everywhere. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention him again. We mentioned him a while ago.
Yeah, no, it seems to be every month.
And he's gone out and smashed another 2 monsters out of places. Unfortunately, had to defend himself against a couple of trolls that don't know any truth behind anything and just have to feel that they have to publicly go there and start saying things, which I think is very unjust. But Christoph did quite a good job of defending himself by combating the points that they raised. But yeah, well done, Christoph.
Yeah,
excellent angling once again.
Kudos to that man. Like I say, every month it just seems to be, he's like this, like holding these trophy fish every month. It's unbelievable what he can do.
Proper biggins. Anyway, you were just getting into things, and then we've had a tangent already.
Yeah, well, I say this podcast, I want to get into autumn fishing. Obviously, things are starting to be on the change now out there. So I want to draw on your experiences, guys, from your years of angling, the changes you ring at this time of year to set you up for autumn, going into that winter period now. There's lots of anglers asking that question now: what changes do I need to start to ring, start to think about? So I'm just going to pull on your experiences from years gone by, where you think certain tactics have set you up for a successful autumn. But before we get into that, we'll get into fishing, what's been going on now. H, I know you've been out recently and having a couple of nice ones.
Yeah, so last week went out to Grenville. The main point of going to Grenville was we've got a new Spomb product that needed filming.
Very exciting Spomb product.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to tell people what it is, because we're launching it in literally a week's time and stock's going to be here. So,
my God.
But this is the thing: if people watch the podcast, they get exclusive stuff.
Yeah.
So we're doing a reel, and it's not just any old reel. It is I'm pretty sure it is the first reel designed specifically for spodding from scratch. I think that's pretty fair to say. The majority of reels from various exceptionally reputable companies making very, very good reels, but
stem from big spinning reels. Yeah, and then they change a few things.
That's it. You know, these carp reels essentially originally came from surf casting reels, spinning reels, etc., and you know, markets that are much bigger than carp fishing, and they've just repurposed the reels for carp fishing. And that's the same with spodding. You know, big spinning reels for big game fish that have got fast retrieves so that they can crank in lures quickly, or when they're surf casting because they're fishing so far out so they can reel in quicker. And these reels are then, you put an extra line clip on them, badge them up as a spod reel, jobs are good and they work. I'm not disputing that, but I think it would be fair to say that this is the first reel where there's been a blank piece of paper and we've gone, what do we need?
Back to the 90s, there. Paper.
Okay, a
blank screen,
blank Word document or CAD file or whatever. All right, cheers. And gone. What can we do
as an angler? What do I need for this reel?
Yeah, what does it need to do? And you know, it needs to be fast. It needs to have an exceptionally strong clutch. It needs to have good line clips that are safe on the line and hold the line in perfectly. They need to last. Spomb reels get more abuse than any other reel. So you need the internal components to be really high spec. So we've done that. You need to make sure as little crap and liquid and all sorts gets in. So we've really ramped up the sealing on the reels.
Because people just dunk them in the water.
Yeah,
People,
they do.
yeah,
They get abused,
when
don't
you
they?
when you
Proper.
start spotting, you splash water over the reel. That if there's any grit on the reel, that can then get inside, which can affect the internals. So we've made sure that the sealing is really, really as high a spec sealing as we possibly can, and as well sealed as we can, which I think is a really key point. And when people pick them up in the shops, which they will be going out into shops in the next couple of weeks, when people pick them up, I think a lot of people, when they pick up a reel in a shop, they wind the handle round a few times, let it go, see how long it spins for, which doesn't actually tell you anything. And if you're doing that and it's spinning for ages, and you go, "Oh, look at that! Look how smooth that is."
It's not a centre
When
pin.
does that ever happen?
Yeah,
It's not a centre pin.
That's
It's
you're not.
mad,
That's
isn't it?
not real. It also means that it's very open. There's not a lot of
There's no restrictions.
there's
for
no
it.
restrictions,
Yeah.
and with this reel, you can turn the handle and it will go round a few times and it will stop. But that is the level of sealing that it's got in it, so to make sure that as little stuff gets in to increase the lifespan of the reel. And then what we've done on top of that is we've actually included a grease port. So if after however many years and however many casts, they do start to stiffen up a bit, you can literally open up the grease port, grease it all up again, and it'll be working again
Right, okay.
nicely. So there's a lot of thought and effort gone into it. And aside from that, I think they look the absolute nuts. But
They're smart.
you guys will have to wait a week to see any
Yeah.
photos or images.
I think
of
the
that.
point to note there is, I think, I don't know how, in terms of time and years gone by and where it's up to now, but the old perception used to be, get a cheap spod reel, get a cheap spod rod. But in actual fact, like Harry mentioned, the Spomb reel, spod reel, rod is doing more work than any of your other kit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Without a
that's
doubt.
expensive for a spod rod. Well, yeah, because it gets cast like 100, 150, 200 times more than any of your other rods during a session.
Easily,
Same
yeah.
with a reel, and it's
Yeah.
it's cranking stuff in and out all the time. You're putting load through when you're casting. The rotor brake on it's particularly good to prevent. It hasn't got a turn the handle, flicks the bail arm over. We purposely left that off because if the handle's in the wrong position and it drops or you knock it or anything, it can force the bail arm over. So it's set so you have to physically knock the bail
Yeah,
arm
I
back
prefer
over.
the manual ones. I think they're better.
But I think on a
Yeah.
spod reel, it's essential just to prevent. You've got to
It's-
do everything you possibly can to prevent a crack off.
That
And like,
is exactly
in the
what
early
we've done.
like the paper, which I skidded, is relevant because we say what do we need from a Spomb reel? You must not be able to flick the bail arm over easy. It's got to have a strong clutch. It's got to have a big spool, but not too big. It's got to be the right size. It's got to be able to fast retrieve. It's got to be able to take the load, and
Yeah.
we put all those things down on a piece of paper or a CAD file or a Word document, and then we go to the design guys and our engineers and say, "This is what we want. We need to get all this in." And quite often there's a compromise. You can't have something that retrieves really fast but feels really light.
Yeah.
In the gearing,
It needs a gearing
there's
system. There's a bit
compromise,
of weight there. Yeah.
So I think it's important to note that it's a product that's going to be doing a lot of work, and therefore it's taken quite a while to get it right. It's been on test for 18 months, maybe more.
Yeah. We had 50 sets made initially, sent those out. There's been a few tweaks since then, but essentially the internals of those and the guys that are using those have been like there hasn't been one that has failed.
No.
And these are guys that are using them out in Eastern Europe and Europe where they're
Fishing
doing
competitions
a lot of
every
spotting.
week.
Right, okay.
Yeah. This is.
I've had
they're getting-
mine about 8 months, and the thing I've noticed most is the retrieve is insane. It's got a proper fast retrieve.
Yeah,
It
so
didn't bring that
so the
in.
retrieve is 124 centimeters for every handle turn, which is fast. A lot for most normal reels are around the sort of between 90 and 100.
Yeah.
So it's considerably more, sort of 25% more than most normal reels, which really, especially when you're fishing at distance, really makes a difference. But I think just circling back to Scott's point about making sure that we're doing everything that we can to make the reel not only last long, but stop you from having any dramas and stop problems occurring. Like the most annoying thing when you're spodding is cracking off.
Yeah.
Because you've got a spot on that costs 15, 16 quid. You've got a leader on that is, that's another bit of expenditure. And then however much braid, which also isn't cheap, if you're cracking, 100 meters of braid off with a Spomb, with a leader, that's a whole new spool of braid, another lead, another Spomb. You don't want to be doing it. It happens to everyone.
And it's embarrassing.
But you don't.
It's horrible.
It sounds,
It's horrible,
it sounds
isn't it?
horrendous. And,
As soon as you get a crack off anywhere, and
It's like dropping a glass in a pub.
I think that no return ramp is for me was really important that we did that. And I think there'll be some people again that when they are in a shop and they open the bail arm and they'll wind it to try and click it, they'll go, oh, well, that's no good. But it's done for a specific reason, because when you're casting, if you cast and that handle turns and the bail arm shuts, you're cracking off straight away. So we did that. We've also sized the spool specifically so that you get. So we got 3 braids in our range, but the most popular ones are our red 18-pound spot, 20-pound, spod braid, which is a 0.18, and then our Spomb X Pro braid,
That's
which
the
is
grey one, isn't it?
It's a grey, So we've got 2 grey ones. We've got an X Pro and an XD Pro. The X Pro is 24-pound, but it is also 0.18, the same diameter as the other one, but it's just a higher spec, nicer braid. And then the XD is 0.14 for super long range. But the most popular ones are those sizes, and I think that's also 0.18 is about the most popular braid diameter for spotting out there. So we sized the spools specifically so that if you put 300 meters, which is what you get on a spool, it fills it up to the optimum level where you get you're at the right distance between making sure you don't get too many frap ups so it's not overfilled, but also so it's not underfilled so you don't reduce distance. So when you spool up, you'll see there's probably a mil and a half at the top of the spool on the lip that isn't filled, but that is for a specific reason. I've spent far too many years spodding to know that if you fill your spool up with braid to the lip, you will crack off until that braid gets to about a mil and a half below that, and then you will stop cracking off. And just as a testament to this, so for this filming, so we're making the product video at Grenville, the main reason that I was there.
It's turned quite pluggy, hasn't it? I mean,
the
other podcast we did say there was a pluggy.
Well, I said you've been fishing.
Anyway.
But I was talking about the reason why I went, and then
sounds like one of my stories.
Anyway,
go on.
But it's exciting, man. For a product from literally scratch.
It's one that I'm super excited about because I've been heavily involved in everything about it from the word go, and I'm super passionate about spodding. I would happily go somewhere and just spod for someone else. I don't like. I'm a bit weird. I like doing it. If anyone watched the underwater challenge, there might have been shots of Mark spodding, but I did a lot of spodding.
Right.
I did a lot. I said, Mark, do you want me to go and put some bait in? Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll go and do it.
Skipped over there. Yes.
Anyway. So I'd spooled that. I'd spooled the reels up, or the reel up, specifically for that. So there was nice fresh braid on there, so they looked really good for the film. So a fresh spool of braid. That's the time when you're most likely to get crack-offs. Yeah. And I probably put over the 2 days that we were filming, because we did some in the night to get some slightly different shots, doing something today. I put out I think it was 16 or 17 kilos of bait.
Jeez.
So quite a lot of bait. That's, 2 full buckets worth. That's
a lot of
a
spawns.
lot of casts. I cracked off once, and I cracked off at the point where I've joined my Spomb so on the leader, where I've joined my Spomb to the leader, and afterwards I was like, what's happened there? What have I done there? This is about 10 o'clock at night, so it's in the night. We've been spotting all afternoon. And we've looked back at the footage, and I haven't opened the barrel.
I did that. I've done that.
So apart from,
I wouldn't have admitted to that.
Yeah, actually, Kieran. Kieran said that that he was filming you, and you didn't.
Kieran would definitely bring it up.
Yeah, he did. He was like, "Oh, Dean did that." I was like, "Oh, wow." I don't really
That's
want
Dean,
to be
isn't it?
compared to Dean, but oh well.
So he happens to the best of them, doesn't it, Dean?
There you go, see.
And the worst.
Yeah. Thing is, I did it. I remember looking at the reel, like it was the reel's fault. What happened there then?
No, but that's exactly what I did. I was looking at it, going, whatever you've done, you shouldn't have done that. And then we look back at the footage, and I just hadn't opened the bail alarm. It's like, oh. So yeah, apart from human error, brand new fresh braid, a load of spods. These at long range as well. I think I was clipped up at 31 wraps. Nice. With big old crosswind as well.
Right.
No wind knots, no frap ups, no crack offs, nothing.
Did you go dry?
Did what?
From the beginning.
From the beginning. No. I would no. I mean, no. I'd always go in wet.
It's always good to be going wet.
Good advice.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the fishing. So yeah, I did. I caught. It was difficult fishing. I don't think there was that many caught whilst we were there. But I did over the bait that I'd been relentlessly spotting out for however long. I put rigs out over there. And I did catch. I caught one in the morning. Lovely scaly 28 pounder. Nothing to write home about by Grenville standards. I think a lot of people see Grenville and they see the videos where
it's just monsters, isn't it?
It's relentless big uns, but when the conditions aren't quite on it, those fish, it's 30 foot deep. They will sit up off the bottom. You're not allowed to use zigs or anything like that. There is long periods of time on that lake go by where very few fish come out, and then when the conditions are right, the fish go mental. Yeah, and the way that Paul does it, where if you want, you can have your bait taken out for you. So you've got 20, 30, 40 kilos, however much you want to give him. We've all seen it in the videos. You can give him as much as you want. He'll put it out by your marker float, and you can just chuck your rigs out over the top of it. So when it's on and when the conditions are right, you can have an absolute beano on there. But it's not all the time. But yeah, I was happy. That was my first time that I'd been back down to Grenville for over a year. I can't remember whether I even fished it last year. So first time back in a long time.
Did it light the fire to get back down there again? Did you? I missed the place.
When you get a bite on there, the chances of it being a real big un are so high.
It's a PB water, isn't it?
Absolutely. There are my PB's 51 pounds. There are probably 20 fish in there bigger than that.
Jeez.
Maybe more.
Oh, more than that, surely.
Do you think?
Probably more. And when you hook a fish on there, and I like fishing at long range on there. You can catch them closer in, but I go there because I like casting, light spotting. You hook one at range on there in that deep water, and they go and they take line, and you have them taking 60, 70 yards off of you on the bite, while when you're fishing at 120, 130, 140, even when you've got the wind on your back and you're chucking solids out there, sometimes if I catch one right, it'll be going 180 odd miles
an hour,
180 odd yards out.
Wow.
And you get it, and then by the time you've picked up the rod, and 20, 30 seconds later, they're at 230, 230, 240 yards. Some of them big ones that just got, it is unbelievable.
Good fishing.
Yeah, it's a buzz when you get a bite. It's not easy all the time.
It's like tuna fishing off the southwest coast.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's not easy all the time, but when you get it right, you can have some proper good sessions.
Yeah. Nice. What about yourself, Mr. Dave? You been out at all, or have it been heading products?
Pretty much story of my year, I haven't so far. However, I do have some stuff planned, which we have alluded to a while back. So I think the sum total of my fishing so far this year was a trip to Shiaki in March or April, something like that. Can't remember when it was now. End of March, early April, I think. Other than that, little few bits for filming and stuff with work, so nothing of my own angling. But yeah, I am going to be out shortly. I'm going to bled with Lewis in October for 4 days fishing. What are we doing? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 3 days fishing. 3 full days fishing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. Even went in the garage and had a look at the rigs and think, ooh, I should get something ready for that, lot. So yeah, I'm getting ready for that. Then come back from there, a couple of days, and I've got a couple of days to do some more filming. And then a couple of days after that, I'm out for another couple of nights with Harry.
Nice.
So yeah, I've got a little bit of fishing coming up. So I think the same. I did the same last year. I did anything in the summer, then I got a real intensive period of like 3 or 4 weeks and went out and did a bit.
But that is also the nature of our work is that the majority of the start of the year is heavily taken up with getting products ready, getting them right, getting them in a position where we can then launch them. Back end of the year, we always launch the majority of our products. That's just the way that it falls. Yeah. And then you get a little bit of extra time.
People often say to me, "Oh, it's quieting down for you now, is it?" Or they say in the peak of summer, "Oh, it's really busy for you." I'm like, it's busy all the time. There's just different levels of importance at different times. But yeah, it just so happens that it gets towards the autumn and the sales meetings out of the way, the August launches are done, everything for anything going into the autumn's done. We are working on price lists and more product for next year and all that kind of thing. So, but I managed to get myself to a position where I can get out a little bit more. It's not planned. It's not done like I don't fish in the summer and then I go in the autumn because come the autumn it's all brilliant again. Nothing like that. Literally for me, I go when I get the time to go, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, family life is busy. You know, we've just been at the World Championships of martial arts with Freddie up in Hull.
How did you get on?
All the places in the world.
How was that?
He did all right. He didn't medal or anything, but he
Enjoyed
went there, stood on the mats in the World Championships, toe to toe with other people, and got his face punched and kicked, and he punched and kicked other people. You forget, don't you? He's 8 years old, and there's some there they're like 6 years old and stuff like that. They stand on the mats, willingly knowing that they're walking up to another person and they're going to get punched and kicked in the face, and they're going to punch and kick somebody else in the face. And you forget.
Wow, yeah.
It's only when you step back and you go, they're only little. They're willingly doing that. They know that's going to happen to them. So yeah, I'm just proud of them all. To be fair,
All of them
that went up there
amazing.
that do that, and it ain't just it's not just the England team. It's all the other countries up there. There was the Americans had a massive team. Huge team from America came over. But yeah.
Fancy having it. Oh, this is the World Championships. Where are you going to have it? Hull.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone who lives in Hull.
No.
It's in Austria next year. I mean, it goes around, but yeah, this year just happened to be there. So
that's mega though.
So family's busy, so it just restricts the time.
But I think that's I think most carp anglers really
life gets in the way, doesn't it? You know,
it is. You know, people. We are very privileged to work in the fishing industry, and you know our work really is based around stuff that we absolutely love, but we don't get as much time. We get a similar amount of time to go fishing as a normal working bloke. We don't get paid to go fishing. Our job is not fishing 5 days a week. It is our job is promoting fishing tackle. It's developing fishing tackle. It's helping run a successful business.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of filming, don't we? But again, like you alluded to before, when you're filming and trying to fish, it's quite difficult because if you want to be there or do this or do that, it's like, well, hang on, just wait, and then we've got to get that bit on camera. You can't react like you normally would do in an angling situation.
It's very
so
true.
It can be quite frustrating, and I don't particularly enjoy filming fishing because the limited time that I've got doesn't allow me to do what I want to do.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Well, yes.
But that shouldn't be. It's not like it's a moan because
no, sure.
I don't think any of us would change it for the world.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my fishing's not time specifically.
Yeah.
It's just when I get to go. That's it.
Cool.
Dino, you've been fishing.
Yeah, this leads me perfectly
catching
into the topic.
There's no one. There's no one sitting to my left to put you down. Come on.
I know he'd be listening to this podcast now, driving to work, and his grip will be round. I'll be there next time. But yeah, no, I've had a really good couple of weeks. To be fair, I've done, like I say, a few months ago, me and Harry sat down with Millie. Millie is one of the girls who helps us with social media and planning and stuff. And we comprised a list of sort of films that I wanted to or had to make and go out and do. And the last two we did, I've just done a no-tech one, which was taken away. Anything with a battery was taken away. So no head torches, no alarms, no bait boats, no nothing. I was stripped back to using sea fishing bells to register a bite. I had to borrow off the sea anglers. So I had one as a bobbin and one on the tip of the rod.
Double belling.
Double bell end, yeah.
No, belling.
I said belling.
And that film's going out tonight.
I've been carp fishing for a long time. I don't never use bells. So.
It was, I'll tell you what, when I've edited it back, listening to the jingle of a bell when you're playing, it must have annoyed the hell out of the members that were there. That idiot is there with those bells again. Jingle. It's like Santa sitting in the corner.
When you got a bite, you said you put one on a rod tip, one on the bobbin.
Yeah.
When you got a bite, were the bites ferocious enough to get the bell moving, or?
Horrendously quiet.
Yeah. What I thought
in my thought process, I had the rods up on an angle. So I thought, well, if it takes, it's going to do this, isn't it?
Pull it down.
Mate, I had the most subtlest drop backs you could ever imagine, right? And the only reason I heard it is because the bell fell on the floor and went ding. I was like, oh, we got one. In my head, I was like, oh, it'll be like ding, ding, ding.
You should have put the bell on top of the spool and then the old steel plate or something underneath it, so when it tipped and fell over, ding.
Yeah,
that way.
It should have been. Yeah. It was Harry's thing was put a penny on the spool, the proper old school way. But I thought I need something at night that will grab my attention. Just luckily I'm a very light sleeper.
Or just wrap the line around your finger whilst you're sleeping.
Yeah,
just wait for the tip of your finger to be cheese wired off.
Yeah, could do the huckleberry fin around my big toe. So when I put quite a bit of bait, I know everyone's talking about now. This is the autumn thing where that. Does it still exist, the big autumn feed up?
Oh, we'll talk about that.
I want to get into that. And then that was and the latest film I did out was one where we wanted to do a big baited area versus like a stringer. And I literally went out in the boat, put 15 kilos straight out onto a spot. I had 20 kilo to use. So I thought, right, I'll put 15 straight on a boat, tipped it on a big area, almost the size of this sort of way we're sitting now. And the first night was quite quiet, and they just moved in, and I had I think 7 bites up to £32. Some really nice fish as well. So
I remember there was one of those fish what you sent on the WhatsApp group just
the stringer
the other day.
Yeah.
Oh,
believe it or not.
Okay, are we giving away too much?
A little
of the video?
bit. Well. They both produced.
Make sure you watch the video. It's out now on Dino's YouTube channel. Always fishing.
Always carp fishing
with Dean Watson.
It was really good. It was just it was nice to get back to proper fishing, boilie fishing, big baits.
when you say it's nice to get back to doing that, I've got £5 to spend.
That was another one.
You had a really good session.
I did, using cashew nuts and
all them.
Yeah, no, I tell you what, there was these little salted maize. Oh, I literally was snaffling them. And I was like, I have to save, I've got no hook baits left. But yeah, no, so yeah, the last sort of month it's been really good, which sort of leads me into this now, you know, where people are asking questions that they wanted to put to us on the podcast about changes for the autumn coming up now. What do you guys do? Are you starting to think about things differently in your angling now? Do you pay attention now? Like I've always said, if you look at the months of the year, the calendar, the time, that's all man-made. We've assigned those things to nature. Nature doesn't give a monkeys about what we've assigned to it being the month of the year. A lot of people will be like, well, it's September now and this is the month I change my bait and I do this. Well, I'm like, you should only be doing that. For me, the biggest fundamental thing is water temperature. That is crucial to how a carp activity is.
We saw that in the early part of the year, didn't we? When we were trying to film underwater.
Yeah.
You know, we'd gone somewhere in April thinking great time of year. And then it got warm, sun came out and they spawned.
Yeah.
Screwed us over. So if you went, like you say, if you go for months, it doesn't work.
No.
But I thought about this a while ago. Well, not just a while ago. For a few years I've been thinking a similar kind of thing. And that we used to say September was the time when you started to get some low pressure in, get some big southwesterlies, the fish start going on the autumn feed as such. And I remember that happening when I was younger, when I was fishing years ago. I do remember it happening. I used to remember when I was fishing on the Mere, I would book sort of a week off middle of September, second, third week of September or whatever. And quite a lot of people who do the same thing. And you get down there and there was a few of us doing like a week session then. And to be fair, it happened. You used to get, they started coming out the shallows, the weeds started to break up, so the fish started to move around. They got out into open water. And when they got out into open water, you had more opportunities to get groups of fish feeding rather than just trap fishing for ones. Now, it was never a place where you got loads of bites, but during that time, you'd have, if you got the right weather conditions, there'd be a few fish got caught that week or the week after or so and so. We also had a few times where the pressure was crap, the weather wasn't great, and you literally sat down there and there hadn't been a fish out for 10, 14, 16 days. But the point I'm trying to make is we used to think, right, it's getting into September, they're going to start getting into the autumn feed up and stuff like that. And the more the years have gone on, the less I see that impact now. Because
there's been a shift, hasn't there? Definitely.
Yeah, I think there's climate shifts, but we're talking climate shifts. We're only talking like 20, 30 years of angling and stuff. We're not talking ice ages where it starts moving around dramatically. But there's been changes. You know, a couple of years, I remember going away a couple of years ago in September and having like 27, 28 degrees. Just before Freddie went to school, we were on the Thames on a boat on a holiday in September. And it was like, I know when it was because it was the year before Freddie went to school. It was the year of COVID, so we weren't going abroad anywhere. And we had like that week we had 10 days on the boat and we had 27, 28 degrees, 25 degrees. We had rain on the last day and that was it. But again, the point I'm trying to make is years ago, that September, we'd have started to be thinking it's autumn.
Yeah.
And you start to think about it. But now I think what you've got is, yes, that change of weather seems to be that little bit later in the year, and our summers seem to be that little bit longer. But also what you've got nowadays is you've got a hell of a lot more anglers fishing.
This is, I think, the key.
Yeah, I do. And I think you've got a hell of a lot more anglers fishing. I've been carp fishing now for 37 years. Quite a long time for a young man. But you got, like, I used to fish up in Cheshire. Northwich Anglers was my local club ticket. And if I walked to the canal, the river, any of the lakes there, and I saw two rods poking out like that, I knew who that was.
Yeah.
Now there's probably 2,500 carp anglers in that club. But back then I knew every single carp angler in the area without fail, and some that came from out the area. So you've got loads more people fishing now. And also on top of that, loads more waters are open longer. So they're open longer, and because there's more anglers fishing, once they've spawned, years ago, we used to we'd purposely just not bother doing as much fishing when they've spawned, let them recover, let them stick a bit more weight on, and then start fishing again later on. But now there's that many anglers there. Once they've spawned, they get fished for. And once they're getting fished for, better quality baits going in. So the fish are getting that bait that they need earlier in the year. So when you get to what is supposedly the autumn feed up, they don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Because they've had a load of bait inside them.
Back then, most places had a traditional close season. So if somewhere's spawning in May, it's not opening till the second week in June. So, right, like now, they're getting so much bait at that time of year. Often fisheries are also, if there aren't anglers fishing, the fisheries are supplementing them with food. And I think if you were still fishing venues where there wasn't so many people fishing, I think you would still have it as the big autumn feed up, because you get those low pressures, like Scott said. The fish move out the shallows. They're often feeding in deeper water. They're sort of grazing over bigger areas. The periods of time that they're feeding are longer than they were in the summer. In the summer, often those windows where they're feeding are quite short, although they're often quite intense periods of feeding. They're feeding over longer periods of time, but now there's so much more bait for them to eat that they can really pick and choose what they have, because they've spent the summer feeding, gorging themselves on anglers bait, on naturals, everything else, that they've built up everything they need. By the time you get to the end of August into September, most of those fish are back up to more or less the sort of pre-spawn weights, minus a bit of water that they take on right before they spawn. So for me, now autumn fishing, unless you're on a quiet lake, like for example my no publicity syndicate, there's probably no one fishing it right now. If we said right now, today, there's no one fishing it, I'd imagine on the weekend there was probably 2 people fishing it, a 13-acre lake with 80 to 100 carp in. Wow. They're not seeing a lot of bait. I would now, maybe not on a day like today because we've got quite high pressure, but if you've got low pressure, I'd be giving them a fair bit of bait, and in between, if I could bait up, I'd be giving them a fair bit of bait. But on venues where they're busy, they see a high turnover of anglers and they see a lot of bait, I think what you're putting in is far more important than the amount. And this time of year, if you can use natural baits on your venues, I think from when you first get those sort of colder nights, which actually I think this week
just kicked in,
back
end
of September, we've felt it.
That weed, the nights are drawing in, that weed is dying off. The fish can quite often be preoccupied on naturals and they don't need to eat angler's bait. Naturals can really, really make a big difference. And this time of year, I actually think like worms are still good. They're good all the time, but I think they're actually less effective now than things like maggots and casters. I think now is when maggots and casters really, really come into their own.
I think you need them to stimulate a feeding response because they've had all that bait throughout the summer. So the harder to catch come the autumn these times, because they've got all that protein and all that fat and all that food that they're putting throughout the summer, and therefore it's like,
and they've been pressured all year, and
I really fancy eating that.
Yeah,
it's like when you just smashed a steak and everything, and you're like, well, I don't really need to eat, but then they bring out a tiramisu or a creme brulee or something like that. You know what I mean? And you're like, I don't need to eat it, but I would like that because it's nice, and I think that's what naturals do, and I think that's why these days, naturals are more effective going into the winter months than have ever been before, simply because the fish are fuller. They don't need as much, and they need something to stimulate them to feed in.
Yeah.
I know in terms of, like Harry mentioned, weights, and we did this experiment with the mare, different mares I was talking about before, a few years back. Very small syndicate. Once they spawned, everyone used to leave them alone, and then they didn't really get fish for until September again. But what we then started to do was, once they'd spawned, we started to give them bait. So we used to give them barley. We put molasses and vitamins in it and stuff to help them for that recovery. You know, we spoke to a few fishery people. Soak it in this, soak it in that, put this in, put that in. There's some garlic powder that triggers them to feed, and also that can fight against infections and stuff like that. So we started to then supplement their natural food with barley in the summer when everyone had stopped fishing with it. When everyone stopped fishing. And we started doing that religiously. We were putting it in. There was hardly anybody there. We'd go down, stick a few buckets on, leave them for 3 or 4 days, give them a good stir, have a look. Yeah, that's ready to go in. We'd go out and larrup it in certain places. And what we found was, when people started to come back and, I'll have a little go in August, they were coming back then and they were catching them. They were like, Jesus, that's well up in weight. That's like last year's October weight. And because they were getting the bait in the summer when they needed it, they started to, and they were being left alone to eat it. We had them back into mid-August. We had them back to their pre-spawning weights that they were September, October, years gone by. Right. Because they were getting that bait when they needed it. So they weren't getting it in those earlier years. And then when people were coming on in September and starting to they're going like, oh, the big feed up started. That's because they haven't had anything in the summer. So they're rocking up in September, starting to put loads more bait in and go, whoa, the big feed's happening, starting to catch them. That big feed was happening or could happen throughout July and August and June and all that kind of thing as they gradually put it all on.
I think September is. I think you can still get away at certain times when you've got good conditions, low pressure, that sort of thing. You can still get away with putting in plenty of bait, like you found out. Absolutely. And it's all time and place. It's like there's no one hard and fast rule for each and every lake, but I think as a general rule, when you're thinking about big hits of bait, that is going to be more effective July, August into probably mid-September, and then that effectiveness as the water cools, as the fish have hit their weights, that effectiveness gets less and less. And I think traditionally people were still using lots of boilies and stuff right the way into October and beyond. And I definitely think there's going to be exceptions.
Oh, there's always
going to be exceptions. There's going to be plenty of people. And if Chili was sat across opposite me, he'd be shaking his head. And fair enough, there will be exceptions. But I think if you want to maximise your chances and not ruin things, you need to be a little bit more sensible, especially if you're fishing busy venues. Yeah,
I think
I don't like Dean. You've had a spot where you fish with just a stringer and a spot where you put in
a load of
bait. So one, what were the conditions, and two, is that would you say that's a lake that sees a lot of angling pressure and a lot of bait?
It's seeing a lot. Weirdly, we had a guy, one of the members, he actually spoke to me, was it late last year? And he had this idea of what he wanted to do leading up to this point. And he's like, your fox marker poles, how deep do they go? And I was like, well, you could just keep adding forever, mate. You can add, whatever you want. And he said, to do this lake, now, the lake with the spot I targeted, same as what he targeted, was sort of, let's say it's 20 foot. And he literally has been going out, putting 2 markers poles, probably 30 foot apart, and absolutely filling it in to the point where last month he did 60 kilos of bait. I mean, he was there for a week, but he put in 60 kilos of bait, and I think he said he had something like over 20 bites.
Yeah.
So he's filled it.
Okay, so before then, and disregarding that guy,
Yeah.
do people put in a lot of bait? What's the sort of average?
I'd say the average. You've got a mixed bag of anglers on there, from people who are in their sort of late 20s up to their sort of late 70s. So you've got like the tight wads, if you like. I'll just put a stringer out and a bit over it and stuff. So, but I'd say the average, you'd say maybe 3 or 4 kilos over a 48-hour session would be your average.
And how busy is it?
I'd say you've always got, in a 7-acre lake, 7 swims, you've always got maybe 2 or 3 swims taken every day.
Okay.
So
it's not
rammed.
super busy.
but
it's consistent. They're always seeing bait in different areas. But literally, it was no specific sort of area. It was, I put the marker out. I found 20 foot. It was nice. It's a silty sort of old pit that was dug in the 1800s for the railway. And it was sort of like, right, I know in winters gone by, in springs, in autumns gone by, that area they visit as a sort of, not a holding pen, but I know over this period I'm going to get fish there. Yes, it was low pressure. So I had a lot of cloud cover. The conditions were right. You know, if you were ticking boxes to go fishing, I was on it. And it was like, of me being assigned to do this film on this day, I've turned up and the conditions are like, massive tick here. There's a good chance it's going to kick off. So as soon as I put the bait out, I think I had one straight off the spot within the first 6 hours. And I thought, we're on for it here. But then nothing for like, I think maybe 15 hours passed off that spot. I was like, I should have had another one. And I thought, I ain't putting any more bait out. There's no way they've troughed 15 kilo. Ain't happening. So I just repositioned the rods just to the edge of the area. And then the bites came after that, 5 bites. And I was just topping up with a couple of spombs after each fish. But predominantly, you know, putting that big bed of bait out, they moved in on it. I think what happens is, at the moment, there's a lot of silverfish in there. And I think that can create the commotion where the carp go, what's going on? And it's sort of like, well, if we let them eat it, we're going to have none. So they move in and bully off, and you then get the carp. I think that's probably what happened.
But like I say, this is, you're getting super good conditions.
Yeah.
Because this was last week, right?
It was, yeah.
So we had warm, like 20-degree southwesterlies, decent big southwesterlies.
It was.
It, like you say, couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. You don't know. You keep on doing that, and like next week you could go back, do the same, and it could work again, and it could work again. Eventually, it's gonna.
Yeah.
It's gonna slow down.
Yeah.
What bait were you using?
I was using. I had a mixed bag. Because I had to make up the 20 kilo. I think I took like 7 kilos of live system, 7 kilos of 11 mil high oil pellet, and some cut maize, chip maize that I've dropped off to you this morning, Scott. And I've balled up that chip maize. It's such a great bait going into the autumn and through the winter, because the carp can pass it really easy. And I've just, for the people who are watching this on YouTube, you'll see the drone footage now of me putting out the cut maize coupled with some like cream liquid. The cloud it was giving off was insane. It was ridiculous. I was just like, when I watched the drone footage back, I was like, oh my God, I could not believe the cloud it was giving off. And I'm like, well, if this is dropping through the water columns, that is such a big signal.
Yeah.
I
think with that bait, what you've been putting in there, and I think leading on from me talking about maggots and stuff, there's lots of venues where you can't use maggots or naturals, or you like they've you either can't use them until November or December, or there's just a flat out natural baits ban. And I would have said after that, your next best bet is something like sweet corn, or you've got maize, cut maize, that sort of thing, something that is really easily digestible, that you can put out in more quantities. You've also used like more of a sort of cereal based, bird food based boilie as well.
Yeah, it breaks down quickly, doesn't it?
Taking out those sort of more high oil, fatty, heavy protein sort of baits as well, which are harder to it's well documented, harder to digest the colder the water gets. So, yeah, for me, you're always looking to get, if you can get on the next wave of bait that's working first, you'll reap the rewards. So if most people are still fishing with pellet and boilies now, because that's what's been working in the sort of summer, if you can be the first to get onto like using maggots or using casters or using sweet corn, or swapping your bait to your boilie, if it's a boilie only water or whatever, swapping your boilie to that slightly more digestible thing, soaking your boilies in water prior to your session so that they're really soft and digestible. There's lots and lots of things that you can do that will mean that you can still use higher quantities of bait if you feel like the conditions suit it.
So I want to summarise this, and just to make it a little bit more easy for people to understand, I'm going to put something to you now and just your thoughts on it. So watching a while, I always remember, it's just stuck in my mind a long time. I know someone who's a very big advocate of water temperature and going off that is Mark Holmes. He's absolutely fixated on water temperature, and that dictates to him how he fishes lakes, which I think, as I said before, the water temperature plays the biggest fundamental part in the habits of a carp and what a carp does. Now, he always said, and how would you address this and sort of apply your angling to it? So he always said anything between 18 degrees and above in the water temperature, you're in summer temperatures. If it's between 18 and 12 degrees, you're in the autumnal temperature, and anything from 12 and below, you're moving into winter temperatures. So from that, he bypasses what month it is, what the calendar says. He goes off of that. So if you're now moving into that temperature, which I think we are, we're in that between 18 and 12 now as we're moving into the autumn. From that going into the winter, how would you apply yourselves? When you're saying the bait you're using at this point now, you're mixing your naturals with your boilies, and is that something you've thought about yourselves with the water temperature side of things?
No.
You've never thought of it like that? No,
I have, but look,
it's just good to hear your different people's views on it.
Well, I've caught fish for quite a while. I've never taken a thermometer with me. Whether that's a bad thing or not, I don't know. But the other thing is, where do you test the temperature? In the margin? In the middle?
Out where you're fishing?
At the bottom?
In 20 foot of water?
Mid-water? At the top? And it's very changeable.
Yeah.
And as we've seen, having used a bait boat last couple of years, you can send it out one day in the spring and it'll be whatever the temperature will be. You can send it out the next day with a bit of wind on it or a bit of sun, and it's like 3 or 4 degrees difference. You think, how is the swing that much?
Yeah. And knowing the thermocline changes.
And that's moving it, stirring it up. Temperature definitely has an effect, but I would say to me, what I would consider before I went is, have you got good prior knowledge of what the lake or the venue's been doing during the summer? How much bait's gone in summer? Because if not a lot of bait's been going in summer and people have been trap fishing, a bit of particle, a bit of this, bit of that, bags, solids, whatever, and just catching a few, then I'd be more inclined to go, right, weather conditions are looking decent, whatever the water temperature is, but weather conditions are looking decent. Do I think the fish are going to be feeding in these conditions? Yeah, they've not had a great deal of bait in the summer. It's been traps. I'd be inclined to put a bit of bait out. If it's been fished hard in the summer, people have been larruping bait in, and the fishing's been slowing down, even when the conditions are great, I'd be like, well, maybe they've got what they need. So I don't think that going now with a certain water temperature and levering a load of bait in is going to make a huge difference, because they might have had what they need.
Yeah.
I remember years ago fishing a syndicate I used to fish in Essex, even when I lived up north. Big fish water, some real big fish in there. It did fish in the winter, but I remember one particular autumn going into the winter. Into the winter, it was relevant because what I experienced early September. So we are expecting then for the fish to start coming on the feed a bit more, starting to get into those central areas, put a bit of bait out, and you start to get a few hits. And I did have a few hits there. But I remember getting down there, and it felt right. I had one. Steve Alcott was fishing at the same time. He had one. I think he had the big one. The same weekend that I caught. And that was sort of early to mid-September. And then it never did another bite. I don't know, tell her I did, from my knowledge, he did one bite. I think Martin Gibbinson had one bite in December and lost it. But it never did another bite to our knowledge until the following May. Now, people might have gone down and caught a few, but, you know, whatever it was. But what we found out was during that summer, there was about 3 or 4 anglers that were baiting it heavily. I mean heavily. Because you could go down there, you could go out in a boat and put bait in. So you're not spotting it. So if you take a bucket of bait and spot it out and it takes forever, you go out there with a boat and start scooping at a bucket of bait, last 30 seconds and it's gone. And they were levering baiting, and there was 3 or 4 anglers doing it, and they were levering good quality boilies. And it transpired that, and when if you look back now, the 2 fish that we got that caught that weekend were good weights, and they'd done what we said. They'd had a load of bait in the summer. These guys were baiting it. They didn't know that each other was baiting it to the level that they were baiting it, and so they would rock up and stick another 20 kilo out. Well, mate, he'd only been there the day before and stuck 20 kilo out. And they never, because of their baiting pattern, they never bumped into each other. Wow. They were like doing, I'm going to keep this bait going in to do this. So they were all doing something they thought were going to benefit themselves. And it was only when we started to get into the autumn, like, shit, why is he not fishing? That the truth then come out was like these guys were levering baiting. And those fish got to a stage where they just didn't need to eat anything.
Yeah.
So I think the knowledge of what's happened in the summer does prepare you for what you're going to do in the autumn. And I don't think there's a hard and fast, this temperature, these weather conditions, blah, blah, blah. It's so changeable. You have to be able to read the water. And I think we said this before, that the best anglers and the good anglers adapt and change. And it's hard to have a general, these are the rules that I abide by. I think to be successful, you have to be adaptable. You have to read the water. You have to know what's gone on prior to help you make the right calls going forward. So water temperature,
I'd say I'm in the same boat with Scott about the water temperature. You know, you can tell by the weather forecast. You can tell by dipping your toe in the edge, like all that's cold, or it's not. Like, and experience tells you when things are right to do certain different things. And I think, again, like Scott said, there's so many other things to bear in mind other than just, the water temperature is 14 degrees. It means that I should be using solid back. Like, I think that's not something that you should be considering. But I'd say as a rule for me, when you get to the middle of September, if you can use natural baits, I think you like get on them, because you'll be on them before most people, because I think most people like to hang it out till October, November, even December. If you can get on them before anyone else, that will significantly improve your results. And I also think that, something happens mid-September into early October where it just means that your tactics that were working from the summer become less effective and you need to change things up. What that means, whether that's changing from boilies to like a sort of low oil pellet, or switching to corn or maize or hemp or whatever. But the same things that you were doing 2-3 weeks ago are going to start to lose effectiveness, and generally you'll need to change something to continue to catch. That might be using less bait, different spots, but it's not gonna continue to work.
Yeah, I suppose that's all knowledge is power and being in tune with the lake. The guys who are there weekly are just more in tune with what's going on. They're feeling that you do when you're fishing a lot. You are in tune with that lake. You feel the different. You know when it's time to ring those changes, and if you've got the guys who don't go, it's a big difference. Where I've gone to a lake and I've had a 6-week period gone back, it's a different lake. Especially now, if I went to lake at start of August and I don't go back to October, I'm faced with a completely different scenario from what I faced before.
100%. If I was going to a venue that I'd never fished before or that I hadn't been to for ages, and I was going next weekend, I'd get some nice fresh maggots. I would put them into sealable bags, take all the air out of them, suffocate them. I'd maybe take 1.5 gallons, 2 gallons, put them into 4-pint bags, take them for my 48-hour sessions. I'd have tins of corn, and I'd have a bag of boilies in the car, and I'd use the maggots first, and then you get to sort of I'd maybe spod between 2 and 4 pints out as a rule if I was spodding,
just to get things started.
Or if I'm fishing down the margins, I put a few handfuls in or whatever. But I'd start with a small amount of maggots. I'd use maggots on the hook, not many. I'd say on the hook, on the hair. I'd use small numbers of maggots, between 5 and 10 on a hair. That you'll be able to then tell pretty early on. I'd have fairly regular recasts as well, because you'll be able to tell early on whether you're still getting played by nuisance fish.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just chuck out your maggot hook baits and leave them out all night from chucking them out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, because you might be absolutely knackered. I chuck them out maybe 2-3 hours later, wind them in, check them. Okay, they're still good to fish. And if you're not getting played by nuisance fish, the maggots will work from now, 100%. If they don't work, I'll maybe put some corn out. And then if that doesn't work and you're still getting nuisances, then you're looking at boilies, tiger nuts, that sort of thing. But that's my sort of level of priority if I could use whatever I wanted. And also if those maggots don't work, and the reason I'm saying you put them in poly bags, seal them off, not only are they much easier to deal with when they're torpid, you can spot them out, they don't sweat up, they don't wriggle everywhere. You take them out of the bag, put them into your bucket, spot them out torpid, and they won't then wriggle when they're on the bottom because they've been suffocated. So they won't go into the silt or anything. I always like to put them out like that. But also, if they haven't worked, you've got 3 or 4 bags that can then go in the freezer. They're still nice and fresh. They haven't been knackered, and you can take them out when you go into a different venue or later on in the winter.
Or if you're going the following weekend, leave them in the bag sealed up, put them in the fridge, and they'll still be fine.
Yeah,
that's a lot longer.
Exactly. They will. You will get a lot longer out. I know that maggots are expensive. They're 20, 25 quid a gallon. A gallon's quite a lot of bait. It's probably 3 or 4 kilos of maggots a gallon.
But that's a couple of kilo of bait, boilies that you buy from a shop.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they're expensive, but when you put it in relative terms, I keep jotting things down on my phone. I'm not sending the missus a text or anything. Text, I spelled it. WhatsApp.
I'm just jotting down the tips.
No, I just things that I just wanted to say from experience, that if I don't jot them down, they'll just drop out of the head. One of them's relevant to water temperature, and then the other one's relevant back to September and feeding spells and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember a few years back going into a September time where people are expecting for it to happen. It links into other venues that are fish, whereas some of those meres I used to fish years ago, you get the weed come up in the summer, it plumes across the top, makes it really difficult to fish. But what happens is by the time you get into August into September, that's plumed across the surface. No light's getting to the weed underneath. It kills all the weed underneath, and then you start getting those big winds and it blows it around.
Yeah.
So what you end up with these fish moving with the weed, and I've seen it.
Yeah.
It moves to areas where you'd never see fish at that time of year. It blows a massive, huge, like I'm talking probably like an acre, 2 acres of weed. It blows it into a margin, and then like people are just dropping baits through the weed and catching them at the margins that them fish never frequent at that time of year. But the point I'm trying to make is that at the time of year, you've got the weed, then the surface weed stops the light, it kills the weed underneath, then that weed moves the fish around, but then it starts spreading them around. So then the fish start to move around, and then the areas that used to have weed in it are there's no weed there anymore, and suddenly that raft of weed moves, and you can get a bait to those areas that you know are historically good, whether there's bloodworm beds or whatever, or different things on the bottom. But it just moves it, and then it starts moving and stirring the fish around. But also, I think as that weed dies back, the cover dies back for all the fry and stuff like that. And I do believe that carp are quite predatory with fry and stuff like that. I remember a guy saying, one of my mates said to me years ago, he's like, oh, I'm on such and such a lake, and there's loads of fish showing in that corner. He said, I cannot get a bite. I said, really? He went, honestly, he said, it's ridiculous. Normally, this was September-ish. He said, no matter what I do, I can't get a bite. Zigs, everything, nothing. I can't get a bite. I was like, just stick your lander in and just scoop it through the margin. He said, you what? I said, just scoop it through. I don't want to catch one like that. I said, no, I'm not saying you catch a fish like that. A fish. He's whizzed his net through the margin, lifted it up. He went, mate, it's full of fry. I said, yeah, that's what they're feeding on. Those carp are like dolphins. They push that fry into that corner and they are smashing them to pieces.
Right.
That might be where you pick the odd one up on a zig, but they were harvesting fry, and literally he was like, what? He said, yeah, it's mad. And then the day after or whatever, he was fishing again. He used to fish nearly every evening, do a few hours, and then he'd say, oh, I caught one. He said, I had one. I was like, oh yeah. He went, yeah. He said, literally, there's fry in the net. Jeez. He said, I've not. He said it's coughed up fry. Yeah. I said, yeah, it's because I've been smashing and harvesting them, and they get them to a point where imagine the protein and things that they're getting out of that. So they start harvesting them in September, or you've got a lake where the fry has managed to be covered by the weed, it's survived, it's grown to this big, yeah, and then suddenly the fish can get to it. It's like, whoa, look at that food. Yeah. It's like Matt walking into KFC.
There are that not only with fry, but with all sorts of aquatic life. When that weed dies back, there is a fresh larder for those fish to have that they didn't have quite the same access to. So they can ignore your standard baits, and they will ignore your standard baits like they weren't doing before. And that, leads on to why I think, maggots and really natural baits do work.
They're full.
I mean, they work, to be honest, they work all year round, but the later into the year they get, the more effective over the other baits they become, and the more effective they are because the smaller fish start to not impact them quite as much.
Well, also the weed cover's gone. The smaller fish that are coming through start getting hammered by the cormorants and stuff, so that larder then disappears by predation from birds and stuff like that. So then the fish, they might be full for a while, and then they start burning some of that off, and then like, oh, am I hungry, am I not? But then it's like the temptation of a bit of naturals, which stimulates the feed. I'll have a go at that rather than stick my head down and try and scoff 5 kilo of boilies because I don't need it. So there is that. But then the other thing, when you mentioned temperatures, I started to think about winter. Winter's gone by, and like if you say when the water temperature gets to that, you're pissing in the wind. How is it that in years gone by you have those little feeding spells in the winter where things get caught, and you see it? And I remember like January's where I've had like 12, 13, 14 degrees, and you're like, wow. You go out, these conditions are wicked, and you'll see the conditions from I've done it both ways. I've gone fishing and caught and gone small window of opportunity, middle of January to February, on a rock hard water. I'm like, wow, I've caught a couple. Small window. Now, some of them were by chance that happened to be there just because I go fishing when I can go. Yeah. And some of them were like, oh, actually, this looks good. I'm going to get out. And then the little demon's sitting on your shoulder going, well, why are you bothering for? It's January, mate. It only thawed out the other week. You're pissing in the wind. Water temperature's going to be freezing. And the other one's saying, well, go, because it looks good. Just go and do it. And then I think about it, and now I look, because of that thought I used to have years ago, I see it nowadays, and I see suddenly social media. You look out the window of the office or whatever, and you go, there's going to be some fish caught next few days. And then literally you go, ding, 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 it all starts happening. So water temperature at that point, for that 2 days, it didn't shoot up 10 degrees.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just something happened in that spell.
No, it's enough of an increase for them to start moving around.
But it doesn't fall within that parameter of that's when I should go and that's when I shouldn't go.
Yeah.
So it's a change. It's something different. So again, you can use them as guides, but there's always going to be an exception to the rule, or there's always going to be an opportunity where.
I think also, as with anything, it's like fish to the conditions. Just because Dino's caught over 15 kilos of bait last week doesn't mean that you should put 15 kilos of bait in this week, because this week is 1,028 air pressure. Whereas last week it was 996 and a big southwesterly. Now it's freezing cold and high pressure. Like,
it's a big change,
now,
that, isn't it, mate?
You want to be fishing with little bags, stringers,
zigs,
traps, zigs.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's really important. I feel like that's a sticking point often, because people get in their heads, this is what I need to do to catch as many fish as possible, and generally what that is putting in a good hit of bait and waiting for them to turn up. But we've seen it when we did, and this will eventually come out. We've spoken about it before, when we did the underwater in November, and it was stupid high air pressure. And you if you've put bait in, like even a small amount of bait, the chance of a fish picking up your hook bait against all of that bait is so small. So you've fish to the conditions. High pressure, they're still catchable, but you just need to think about it. Use bags, use singles, use zigs.
Call it on the day.
When you got some good weather come in, that's when you give them a bit more.
We knew that was going to be a struggle. It had been grey for weeks. It was like people were talking about like how miserable it was, and it had been like that for a while. We knew it was going to be a struggle. We knew we'd be pissing in the wind, and then you put a little bit of bait in, and we went really tentatively to start with, apart from Lewis when he put flake maize in it. But anyway, slightly. We'll cover that when we go into it.
That's a bugbear.
Yeah. But you saw it. You and like we knew it was going to be a struggle, and then what made it even more depressing was you sat and you watched it on the screen. And you watched fish come, and you're like, I'm about giving bits away, but yeah, it just proves the point of. It was November. Water temperature wasn't particularly cold. We'd not had a lot of frosts, but it was very still. It was very stagnant. Still. It had been like that for weeks. It was very grey. It was very static. There was nothing.
There was no life,
to make
was
a
there?
change.
No. Yeah.
And we knew it was going to be hard, and then you just watched it on the screen, and you're like, this ain't going to change.
Yeah.
This is going to be rock hard. This is really going to be hard.
Yeah.
And we had the advantage of being able to see it. Like we felt it. We knew it was going to be difficult, but we could actually physically see it and go, that's right.
Of course.
You know, and underwater gives you that. Underwater cements your thought almost immediately.
It goes back to that knowledge, doesn't it, mate? Knowledge is power.
And I think that's right. You know, Harry, we're saying there is certain rules that you can say when you come to water and do this or do that. But there's also, there is no substitute for experience and knowledge. And I think the more times you've fished in certain conditions, the more you'll know, oh, that worked then. So make a note, do a diary.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think that's a massive thing that you should. It's only when people start talking to you about something that you remember it, and then you link in times and things that happened in social environments or sporting environments that you go, oh, that was such and such and then, and that was that year and that. If you make a diary about it, you'll start to see patterns in that diary piece. Use the experience and the knowledge that you've got from your diary piece that you then remember by reading it, and then also try and find out what's happened before you got to the lake.
Yeah.
Try and find out, not necessarily the going swims, because quite often, and the other thing is as well, people are like, that swim's just done. There's been 20 fish out of that swim. Go in it, odds on, it ain't going to happen any longer. No. You need to find the new one. You need to be there at the start of it, not the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. That's a massive point.
Correct, the new buzz, isn't it? But I love it. It's such an exciting time to be on the bank at the autumn.
It really is. The fish are looking brilliant.
Yeah,
they are back at their best weights.
They are
looking the nuts. The scenery, the trees, everything's looking its best. I think it's the most dramatic time of year, isn't it?
It's exciting. Those little, you get the sort of the frosty mornings, you get the mist on the lakes. It's a great time. So just get out there, go and do it, go and catch some carp. Guys, we've been waffling on quite a lot. Getting an hour and a half. This one now,
is it?
We're flying.
We're
flying. We're flying. No, it's been fantastic. It really has. Really interesting chats and a lot to take forward into my own autumn angling going forward now to make me think about. And
it sounds like you're wrapping up. Before you do, can I just give a big shout out to my ex teammates,
the carp. His ex.
Shout out to my ex. Can't believe I just did that on the podcast. No, shout out to the Carp Team England boys, because they just went out to Croatia. Very, very difficult place to go and compete in a World Championships, because the Croatians are so blooming good at these matches. They managed to fish their absolute nuts off, come a very respectable second out of 33 nations.
Wow, fair play.
I think they did incredibly well. I was messaging a couple of the guys. Obviously, Rivers is a Fox sponsored angler who is the manager of the team, and then Bart, who's out there, and then Carl, my ex partner, my ex fishing partner, he is out there as well. I messaged Bart on the, I think, second morning, and I'd just seen that he'd caught 3 fish in quick succession. I was like, "Oh mate, keep it up, keep going." He was like, "I just caught those at 250 yards."
No,
How
my
much?
days.
250 yards. So
animal.
They'd been
animal,
fishing.
Isn't
So they're fishing up to a far margin. So they've got the rangefinder out on what the far margin is, and it's 250 yards, this far margin. And basically, you're trying to get as close to the far margin as possible. There's been a crosswind for a lot of the match. It's turned to a wind off the tailwind, so it's off the back over the shoulder, and he's managed to catch I don't know what he would have been using, a helicopter rig. He would have been using a tiny Wincy bait. He's an absolute machine. He's 200 yards in any conditions. So
it's a different world.
It's absolutely astonishing. So yeah, fair. He was like, "Oh yeah, I just chucked it under a tree at 250 yards." So I'd love to get Bart in, and maybe Rivs, or maybe Kev as well. That would be great for hopefully in a few podcast time we could get them in.
Yeah, mate, I was slogging my guts out.
So they did incredibly well. They were beaten by Moldova and you think, oh, Moldova, who are they? They on the competition scene have really come through in recent years, and we actually in 2022 we pipped them to the gold, and this time round they pipped us.
Wow.
So yeah,
fair play to them.
really good results. So well done, lads, and well done to Moldova as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well done, guys. Mega. Right, we're going to move on to competition time now. So first up,
wrapping up, but you forgot about the competition.
Well, we got to, getting onto the competition to help wrap up. Anyways, right. Last podcast, we were giving away £50 worth of edges, tackle, and all you had to do was name the fox angler that Otto bumped into while over in France. And of course, that was the legend that is Andy Maker. And the winner was a guy called Darwin Davis. So well done, Darwin. And I know that name because you are a member of the syndicate as well. So well done, mate. I will get in touch with you and we'll get your £50 worth heading out to you of Fox Terminal. Moving on to this amazing giveaway we've got now, a set of free X4 rods. And the question is, reverting back to the old podcast as well, on this very table in the last podcast, there was a VHS video, and all we want to know was what was the title of that video that was sat in the middle of this table.
There got to be some eagle-eyed people to
I think so.
to have noticed that.
So yeah, get back on the Otto podcast, have a look at that video, put the title in the comments below in the YouTube comments, and that will enter you in the draw, and we will be telling you the winner in the next podcast.
Have you watched the video? Can you see it?
I haven't watched the video, but you can see the video. Yeah,
you're zooming enough to be able to read
yeah,
it.
you can.
Clearly.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. And of course, next podcast, Fish of the Month will be back. We'll be doing the draw for September Fish of the Month. And of course, you can enter that as long as you are a member of the Fox Syndicate, which is the official Fox community. So get over to Facebook, become a member, and you can enter your autumn catches from all the topics and the tactics the guys have given you.
Oh, they'll be full, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
The autumn feed up, they'll be full and looking good.
But guys, it's been a blast. Thank you very much, gents. It's been an interesting chat. Thank you for joining me.
Hope the
I've
two of us
enjoyed
haven't
it.
bored everyone.
I think it's I think it was good.
We talked some tactical angling experience. Though.
Yeah.
We're sending the people away with knowledge.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Guys, have a good one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.